Yeah, good afternoon. You're welcome to our Java series. In this section, we'll be talking about how we can get input from the keyboard and performing calculation on the input we extracted from the keyboard, performing calculation on them. So in this program, we would write a Java program that will call or import a class from Java packages. Then we will declare three integer, one number one, second number two, and the third will be sum. So this program we had the first number and the second number together. At the same time, it will display the answer on the console. So that being said, um, let's start the program and we'll be displaying the answer using one of the print formats that we learnt in the first class. So we'll launch the NetBeans as usual. So the program is opening, and after that, we locate our chapter 2 application. Okay, so from the source packages, I will right click on the chapter 2, then new Java class. So we'll call that addition. So I will call it addition. Then I will click on finish. So now we have the public class addition. Don't forget that the entry point to a Java program execution is public static void main. So I write public static void main. Then do not forget that there will be a command line argument that will call string as. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do is create a scanner to obtain input from the command window. Create a scanner to obtain input from the command window. All right. So after that, this is a comment for that. Then I'll do scanner input, right? Scanner input is equals to new scanner. Now this time around, what we want to do is get input from the system. So we're going to do system dot in. Now notice that we have some errors here. This scanner, this input, this scanner. So the error is due to the fact that we need to import this class, into our program. So I'll explain what scanner is later on. So I can click on this guy and I will do add imports for java.util.scanner. Then we'll have it at the top here, right? Then the error will go. Now the next underline that we have is that this input variable is never read, that is we have not used it. So after this guy, like I said, I'm going to create three variables, one number one, second number two, and third sum. So I'll do int one, int number two, and int sum. Having done that, so we have three variables now, the number one, the number two, and what? Sum. If you remember in the first lecture that we had, I said I will explain where to use the number one, where we use system.out.print. Now I will use system.out.print instead of print line. So what I will do is out system.out.print. The reason for this is because I want whatever they enter to be in front of this line, like enter first integer, right? First integer. So the reason I use print is that anything they will be entering should be in front of these statements. The next thing that I want to do is to now accept the input, real input from the user. This is just a prompt. This prompts the user to enter the first integer. So then this second line will now accept that integer. Number one is equals to input dot next integer. So now I'll repeat the same thing for number two. I'll repeat the same thing for number two, right? So number two will be second integer. Then after this, and I want to perform calculation on them. So I'll do sum is equals to number one plus number two, right? And after that, and I want to display the output, so which is going to be print format at this stage, print format. So I will do sum of %d plus %d is equals to %d backslash n, right? Backslash n. So the first %d will be my number one, followed by number two, followed by sum. So the next good programming practice is to comment our code, right? At the very beginning, so I want to do a comment called create a scanner. Sorry, this is I've commented create a scanner to obtain. So the comment I want here is method main method begins execution of Java application. So comment is very, very important, all right, in program. So that anytime you open the program, say 10 years to this time, reading the comment will give you insight. You might have written a lot of code and you didn't even remember what one or the other does. Hence, reason for comment. So comment will lead you, or when you are taking another role in another company, right? It is important to read the comment on each line of code to know what that particular program does. Okay, so sum of one and number two. Like I said, it's very important to do what? To comment, right? This one will be prompt. This type of comment that I'm doing is end of line comment. You see that all the comment have been supplying ended on that same line. So we call it end of line comment, right? So read the first number from user, right? This is also prompt. Then this read the second, oh sorry, I have to comment it. Read the second, read the second number from user. Right here now, we added the two numbers together. Add numbers, then store store total in sum, right? And the very last one, I'll add that because it's a long line, I'll add a comment on top of it. So that will be display um sum. Okay, so very first thing I'm going to do is run this program to see what it does. Do not forget, you can right click on this and then run file, right? So right click on the addition.java and then we can do run file. Why is it that we can't run the file? Public static void main string args supposed to be able to run this guy, okay? And I click on it and say run file. Now if you look at the program very well, it says enter first integer. So let me enter 45 and press enter. You say enter second integer. Let me enter 67 here and press enter. And you now see I have sum of 45 plus 67 is equals to 112. You can see now we are able to we have written a program that taking two numbers from user through the console or the command line, right? And then added the two numbers together and display the sum, right? So the total time it took our program to execute is 21.06 seconds and it finished at this time. So we can rerun it again, right? It's running. It's running. Enter the first integer. Let me do 76 this time around. 89. Then look at that. 76, 89 equals to 165, and this ended 8 seconds plus. So explaining each line to you so that you can understand what each line does. If you look at the very first thing I did, you see I did dot import java.util.scanner, right? This is on line 7. What does the import do? The import is or let me say import java.util.scanner is an import declaration that helps the compiler to locate a class that is used in our program. One of the strengths of Java is that it has a lot of packages that helps us to achieve the task without redefining our own code from the beginning. And the Java provides us what is called Java API. So Java API means Java Application Programming Interface, right? You use the import declaration to identify the predefined classes used in Java program. So the declaration indicates that this example uses Java's predefined scanner class, right? So, and that scanner is imported from the java.util dot, uh, yes, java.util. So that's where we have the scanner class. Now, before we proceed, let me tell you a common programming error, that programmers does. One of the common programming error is that all import, especially when we are talking about Java, all imports all import declaration must appear before the first class declaration in the field. So what we are talking about is that this import and any other import at all must appear before this guy, right? So you must do all your imports before what? Before this public class addition. So placing an import declaration inside a class, right, or inside a class declaration body or after a class declaration is a syntax error. So meaning if you look at this guy, if I put this import now and I put it here, you will see that I have errors, right? Or I took this guy out and I put it here, is also an error. Therefore, your importation must come before the class. Then another thing to do to prevent error, we call it error prevention, is that forgetting to include an import declaration for a class used in your program typically results in a compilation error containing a message such as cannot find symbol. So if I mistakenly or if I forget to import the scanner, you will see that this will tell me cannot find symbol. You can see cannot find symbol. So that is the error you usually get when you forget to import a particular class that is important, right, to your program. So before you run your program, ensure that you check that you provide the proper import declaration and that the names in the import declaration are spelled correctly, including proper use of uppercase and lowercase letters. So what I mean by that is that, I have done Java all in small letter, util all in small letter, and when I want to write the scanner, that is written in capital letter. So by convention in Java, all classes all classes name started with what? Capital letter. All classes name started with capital letter. Capital letter. Again, capital letter. So if you follow that default, you would find it easy to understand programs written in Java, especially if it is written convention minded. So by convention, Java class is started, the class name is started with capital letter. And then if you have two names for your class, just like addition, I can say addition of two numbers. You will see that all the other words in the class started with capital letters. That is addition of two numbers. So that is the ideal way to what? To start a class. Yeah, so let us go further. Uh, Here I created an object on line 18. You can see what I did was scanner input is equals to new scanner system.in. What do I mean by that? Is a variable declaration statement that specifies the name input. Look at that. The name input and type of this input is what? Is scanner. Its type. The name is input and the type is what? Scanner. of a variable that is used in this program. A variable is a location in the computer's memory where a value can be stored for use later in a program. That is, this variable we can store something in it and what and use it later. Just like here, when I say number one is equals to input the next integer, right? Anything that the user supply here will be stored in number so that I can later use that number. Look at here, I later use it here. So whatever that is stored here is reused here, right? And whatever that is stored in sum is also reused here, right? So that is any variable you declared, you are storing information in it so that you can recall that information in the nearest future. All Java variables must be declared with a name and a type before they can be used. That is, you must declare them with a name and a type. Here now, input is a variable name, the type is scanner. Number one is a variable name, the type is integer. Number two is a variable name, the type is integer. Number three is a variable name, the type, sum is a variable name that the type is what? Integer. So that is every Java you must declare the variable with its name and what and a type before you can use it. A variable names enables or a variable's name enables the program to access the value of the variable in memory. And the variable name can be any valid identifier. What do we mean by valid identifier? What is meant to be valid identifier is identifier naming requirements are given. So meaning that you cannot start identifier with a number. For instance, I can say twosome is an error. I cannot start an identifier with what? With a number. Although I can start with an underscore, right? Is okay. Like you can use underscore, but do not use underscore in a local variable. We'll get there, okay? So you can start with underscore, but by convention, you should not use underscore in a local scope, right? So you can start with number, right? You cannot start with minus. That is a symbol for subtraction. It's not allowed. You cannot also use you cannot call your identifier, you can't call it any of the reserved word. If I say int public, public is a reserved word, but if I must use public, I should just do publics. But still, you can find something better instead of public, right? So you cannot use any name that is reserved by the program. So the scanner class enables us to accept input from the user. So that is, we accept the input from the standard input object that is known as system.in. It's a standard input what? Object. Then here we prompt the user to enter the first integer and then we accept whatever they enter here. So we prompt the user to enter the next integer here. So this is just a prompt telling the user that okay, we'll do this. Then the user will now do what is to be done, right? So and then we actually uh, sum it up on line 30. We sum it up on line 30 and here we displayed the result. Do not forget, if referring you back to the first lesson, right, we explain what we understand what print format is, right? In the print format, we can use this %d as a placeholder, and then this is position 1, position 2, and this. So number 1 is coming here, number 2 is coming to this guy, and sum is coming to this guy. Okay, so that is how to, you know, uh, do that. And then if you look at this guy, I have done input dot next int. This is because we have declared number 2 as an integer, right? So anytime you are accepting integer from the user, you will do input dot next integer. So next integer is a method inside the class scanner, right? So we will refer to the class scanner by its object. The object we created from the scanner is input. So anytime we do input, we are referring to scanner, right? It's just that you cannot use a class in Java without creating an object from it. So that is why we created input as an object of scanner. So when I now do input, you see that next int is a um, method inside scanner. If I click on it, you will see it will load it up where it is written or declared. So look at that. This is it, public int next integer. So it's expecting that the user supply an integer value. And if you look at the housing class, let me scroll up, you see that it is declared in what? In a class named scanner. Public class coming, public class scanner. Look at that. Is declared in a class named scanner. Alright, so that's the end of the first program. Let's see if we can add another program. But before I proceed to another program, it is better that I explain the arithmetic expression that we have in Java. So the arithmetic expression that we have in Java, they are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and remainder. Those are the arithmetic expressions, like arithmetic operators, right? Arithmetic operators that we have in Java. So notice that addition will return the sum of two numbers, just like we had in our just concluded program. This addition, you see that what I did was number one plus number two. So this plus symbol is for addition. It will return the sum of the first two number, sum of the two numbers that we supplied. Then subtraction, we also return the difference between the two numbers, saying 2 minus 1 will yield 1. And then multiplication will give us the product of two numbers, say 2 times 3 will give us 6. Division, that is 4 divided by 2, will give us 2. Now, what to explain here is that when you are using division, ensure that if what you are expecting is not an integer, do not do integer division. What do I mean? Let me quickly show you what I want to say. So system dot out dot print and I'll do system dot out dot print. Let me use print line. So I now do 23 divided by 2. 23 divided by 2 is supposed to be 11 point something, but because 23 is an integer and 2 is also an integer, integer division in Java will always give us integer result. Let us see what happened. Okay, I have to go through my first program. Right, look at that. You will see that we have 11 because it is an integer division. So integer division will truncate any decimal places. But if I want it to give me the correct value, and I'm expecting to have 11 point something, I have to ensure that the number at the top is what? Is not an integer. This is now a floating point number, a double. So if I run the program now I'm going to go through my program again. So 23, 5. Now see what we have, 11.5. Why? Because it is no longer integer division. And the last one that we have is remainder. That's remainder. Remainder sign, we call it modulus. So in a situation whereby if I do 23.0% to, what I'm expecting from my Java program is to give me the remainder, right? I've done percent to. You will notice that remainder, after you might have divided 23 all over 2, it will remain 1. So let's see. So this is remainder, 23% 2. So 23, 22, 23 divided by 2 is 11, remainder 1. So then that is what we are expecting from our program, right? So it should give us 1 as an answer because that is a modulus sign. Look at that. So we have 1.0, right? We have 1.0 because the top number is a floating point number. So that will be the end of the class for today. We'll meet in our next class where we'll be talking about rule of precedence in Java, where we'll be talking about rule of precedence. Uh, we'll also talk about decision making, equality and relational operators, how we can do decision, how we can decide if something is something, do something, right? So, and then we'll talk about some common programming errors again, and that will be the end of chapter 2. Inshallah. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. Uh, don't forget to share our YouTube channel for others to benefit from, right? So that is what you can give us in return. And your comment is also important. Your comment is highly important. If there's anything you want to ask from the comment section, and then we would provide an answer. Thank you once again for listening. Help us to share as God bless you. Thank you.